I understand when you are living in this with these behaviors and these patterns of behavior, they feel so normal to you and you didn't realize what was the driving force creating that. And so when you're looking at the symptoms, such as any type of stress that you might be experiencing or any type of dissatisfaction in any area of your life, wherever there isn't ease and flow, wherever you're not in that flow state, when you're feeling it and you're walking down the street, you just feel the sky is so blue and you're just operating and everything's kind of flowing in your way. That is possible a majority of the time. But when we come with our dominant masculine energy, we're pushing and we're striving and we're thinking and we're trying to figure it out all the time. We're getting in the heads of other people and trying to predict behaviors. And as you said, that typically starts in childhood and it becomes part of our identity.
I'm Kitty Bloomfield, co-founder of New Strength and Saturée, creator of pro-metabolic food supplements and seriously saturated skincare. And today I have my friend and coach, Greta, back on the podcast again. She's been on a few times. Welcome back, Greta.
Thank you so much for having me. I love spending time with you on the podcast.
I love doing this too. And the reason I wanted to do this podcast with Greta is I'm constantly, I guess, growing myself and learning, and I like to share what I'm doing. And I've been working with you now for, how long do you reckon?
About 3 years.
So crazy. I was thinking that when I was walking, thinking,
2 years,
wow.
2.5.
Yeah, 2.5 years. Yeah, like
this
is the longest I think I've ever worked with a coach. Yeah. Like the training nutrition feels very easy, and this emotional coaching, I shouldn't say it's hard. It's hard, but it's rewarding, and it's trying to, and these aren't the right words, and you maybe articulate it better, but like years and years of conditioning. And, I'm like 43, not a spring chicken anymore. So, when I say to clients, you've been doing what you've been doing for 30 years, it's probably going to take 18 months to, to get that body and health that you want. So I have to be realistic with,
exactly.
take some of your own fucking advice, Kitty. But anyway, so I felt compelled to do this podcast with Greta to share a bit more about the work that we've been doing together, because I feel like a lot of other women would be going through this. They'd resonate with this. And I've just found this work so beneficial. And yeah, I just want to share. I just really want to share. I really believe in what Greta does. And yeah, so, and Greta is better at articulating this stuff than me, but I'm going to try. Here goes. So some of the work that we've been doing is, what I've figured out working with Greta is that I'm a real people pleaser, and I have I've over the years cultivated this masculine part of myself, which has been great. Like we've talked about this a lot. It's not that it's a bad thing. It's helped me build the businesses that I have and the life that I have. But sometimes, I'd feel stressed and anxious and, always be having this huge push to produce all the time and succeed. And then actually getting to the root cause of that. So looking at my childhood and, healing that part of myself, and then cultivating the feminine, which has actually been really, it's fun. Like there's times when I get frustrated and, I'm like, oh, fuck, I've been this, because I listen to books and my personality is, okay, listen to the book, then you think about what you've been doing.
Take action.
That's right. And I think this whole process has taught me to give myself a bit more grace and and I am making progress. It is amazing. And it's hard to articulate, but it's a feeling. It's a feeling. So I don't know, Greta, because I think a lot of women would be like this, and this whole, so I'm learning more about masculine and feminine energy, and, I'm listening to this, what's the book that I'm listening to at the moment? What's it called? The Feminine,
Irresistible Feminine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Zach Brody. Yeah.
Yeah. And just listening to all these things, and I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. Like I've been doing a lot of this stuff in my relationship with Craig. And again, it's not that I how I am is bad, but it's
No.
balancing it out with this feminine energy. And yeah, it's just, it's super interesting to me. And I feel like a lot of women will be able to relate to this. So maybe Greta, that will sort of, you can start there. Yeah.
Totally. And, like you're saying, your masculine energy is a gift. And I always say your greatest strength can also be your greatest weakness, as we're learning with masculine and feminine polarity. We live in a universe of polarity, light, darkness, right? So strength, weakness, we have to feel one, know one to know the other. And, it's not about trying to change yourself. It's not about thinking that those characteristics and qualities are bad within you, but knowing that when you are, this is my story as well. I just celebrated 44 years yesterday, so I understand when you are living in this with these behaviors and these patterns of behavior, they feel so normal to you, and you didn't realize what was the driving force creating that. And so when you're looking at the symptoms, such as any type of stress that you might be experiencing, or any type of dissatisfaction in any area of your life, wherever there isn't ease and flow, wherever you're not in that flow state, when you're feeling it, you're walking down the street, you just feel the sky is so blue and you're just operating and everything's kind of flowing in your way, flowing, your way. That is possible a majority of the time. But when we come with our dominant masculine energy, we're pushing and we're striving and we're thinking and we're trying to figure it out all the time. We're getting in the heads of other people and trying to predict behaviors. And as you said, that typically starts in childhood and it becomes part of our identity. So then when we get into adulthood and we start to see these symptoms begin to pop up, a lot of women might see it in their hormones and their stress hormones, or with their weight.
And I can attest to this. I just want to quickly jump in. It's like I fucking am nailing it with the food. Like I eat lots of food. I know what to eat. I know the nutrient dense foods to eat. I prioritize sleep, sunshine, everything, the right supplements. But we both know, like, whenever something's off and the emotional stress and trying to figure it out, that I don't sleep.
Sleeping.
Like I wake up.
And
even though I'm eating plenty of food and not training, to just training the right amount, like doing everything on paper right. And it's been so fascinating to me because, and obviously you need both. Like you can't just eat
exactly
1,200 fucking calories and then think this, everything's, because you're just gonna feel shit anyway. But I just think it's just makes so much sense to me now. I can see it. And when I always message you and say, oh, like when I've energetically made that decision, or I feel like I've made some progress, or this realization, I'm feeling more relaxed.
Right.
And then I go, oh, I had a better sleep last night. Had a good sleep last night. Like last night, I had 8 hours sleep. Woke up this morning, feel good, feel balanced, or get constipated. We talked about it. Like, fuck, I've done a shit today, But it's just so fascinating.
Yeah. And think about it, like constipation, that constriction, that tightening, right? And with feminine energy, it's relaxed, it's receiving. And when you are in that state, things flow. I always say, men are the riverbanks, women are the river, and we want to be in that flow with life. And when your body starts to show you symptoms of that tightening, of that stress, of that tension, you can realize that your mix, your special, unique mix of masculine and feminine energy are probably out of balance.
And something that you said to me, and this book that I'm listening to, like some parts of it sort of triggered me a bit, because I think for so long I've been a certain way. And then looking back in my relationship, not saying that my relationship's bad, but, thinking, oh, this is how I've always been. And this is how I've been taught to be. So no wonder I'm not getting the best out of my relate. Not saying my relationship's bad, but it could be better. Like it could be, like it just, like it's this forcing of things sometimes, and how I would behave and how I would communicate. And this is very foreign to me. So all this stuff's very foreign. And I'm, some days, remember I'd message you and be like, and because I'm very like the masculine black and white, but shifting more into, as I progress through and we could do the coaching, I read the books, I get less black and white and more like you say, there's an art, and just not being so hard on yourself. Because sometimes I would think, oh my God, I've done all these things for so long. No wonder it is like it is, trying to take that ownership, but, punishing yourself a bit. But
you make a good point there. Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing,
archetype.
sorry, that I was trying to get to is like you said to me, I don't know, you said some studies have shown, or like women over the years, we've got more freedom. Like we can vote, we can do all
Yes.
these things, but we're unhappier than ever. So talk
Yeah.
about that, because that really, I was like, oh, this is really
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
The female happiness paradox,
Mm,
and it was like a research study, a paper. The name of the researchers are escaping me at this moment, but
mm,
how we have over the past 50 years gained more freedoms, financial freedom, healthcare, advancements for women, voting, all of that. And but yet when we are, surveyed, we are polled and we have more depression, more sleep problems, we
mm,
have more dissatisfaction in our lives. We are not happier with all of this perceived advancements and freedoms, when really what's happening is it's pushing us. Yes, you can do the same thing as a man, or you can have the same, responsibilities as a man, but yet maybe we're not physiologically designed to do that. And we are pushing and striving to try to do it all, be it all. I was raised to not depend on a man, do it better than a man, compete with them. And in my own journey, I saw where when I was operating from that place emotionally, energetically, it was creating disease and dysfunction in my body and in my life. And so it really is, what is it going to be that creates your happiness, and not necessarily doing what is expected or what you think is going to get you the results, that striving, that pushing, like you said, that punishing behavior. A lot of women that come to me, they have this inner critic, and she's harsh and
mm,
she's critical, and she's the one that's pushing and driving you to have the restrictive dieting, you know
mm,
driving you to have the best body, so you get the love, so you get the recognition, so you feel safe, driving you to push you in that career so you make the money and you feel safe and you don't need to rely on a man so your heart doesn't get hurt again. All of this, the inner critic, I call her the punisher. And women will have this voice inside of them and want to blame themselves and make themselves wrong. And that was my journey, that
mm,
I had a really, really harsh inner punisher and which led me to restrictive dieting and led me on my journey. I manifested a pituitary tumor which wreaked havoc on my hormones. I was operating in my masculine, and I was a corporate climber. I was a VP of a publishing company by age 26. I was, I asked my ex-husband out. I gave him a marriage ultimatum. I mean, I was really operating in my masculine, and my journey has been, for my body, for my health, for my well-being, for my career, has been this journey of how do I retain all of those great qualities inside of me, but also do things from this relaxed. And I was always craving to be that woman. I could see it. I could see that woman when she's walking down the street and she's embodying that and she's in her flow. I've witnessed women. I'm like, oh, she's got it, right?
yeah, 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 yeah,
She's got that
yeah.
thing.
And I could totally see, like, doing the work with you too. I'm gradually, because again, I think for a while I struggled with, this has been my identity for so long.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm bad. This is bad. This is, like, but then realizing that no, this is an amazing part of me. And it's not about squashing it or changing it. It's like cultivating this other part of me so you can just be so powerful, and it's just so you feel relaxed, but you can still make decisions and be driven in your business and do all the things that you love, because I love my business and I love helping women.
Yeah.
And then, like you say to me, operating in your zone of genius, like what is it that you really enjoy? And then allowing, Craig's doing a lot of the other stuff that's probably more masculine
Mm-hmm.
tasks that I don't really actually fucking enjoy, you know? So
Right. It's
it's,
draining your energy. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it's just as we go along this journey and I have more of these aha moments and I start practicing, because it does take practice, like, and you have these little well, like even on your journey with your training and nutrition, and that actually got me thinking the other day, and I've said this to you before, that I think I was able to like meet Emma and meet Craig and then get out, like eat more food and train and sort of free myself from that but I never really address the underlying issue because, when I reflect on things, like when shit gets hard sometimes, you know, and I've said this to you before, my thoughts go back to restricting and changing my body. I don't do it though, because
Right.
I'm like, this is not, I know that it's not the right
Yep.
thing to do, and I can see I'm doing it. I know why I'm doing it, but it's
Yes.
over time, like healing these parts of myself is not making me want to do that anymore. Does that make sense?
It's the
Because I
first
was,
thing they
yeah,
do. Yeah. They
because
want
I
to
my,
control their body. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and I can recognize that now. And I could recognize that on this journey. Remember, I'd say that to you, like, and I was
Oh, there's
thinking
a
about
thought.
this.
Yeah. An
Yeah,
old.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
and it's like because my mind is powerful and I've been able to go, no, I fucking don't want to do that anymore. I'm doing the training like this. I'm training 3 days. I'm lifting the weights. I'm going to eat all the fucking food to make, and I've, but it's come from this, it's like the wrong way. No, it's not the wrong way. I can't articulate it.
Right. Well, you were talking, it's we typically start this journey through our bodies and wanting to
Mm,
change our physical bodies and live healthier or have a
mm,
specific physique from a place of shame. We don't
mm,
feel safe. Like you said, we're
mm,
going back and we are looking at the root emotional causes of what is creating the emotional reactions
mm,
today.
mm,
And so whatever's happening today is probably linked back to something earlier. And it is a large majority when women are operating in their masculine, it's control and
mm,
want to feel safe. They want to feel accepted. And so that's the first thing we do is we want to control our bodies. And that's where it tends to show up first. But then you can start to see it in different capacities in your life and how the whole time you're just trying to feel safe and okay.
yeah, yeah. And but now, you know, because on the other hand, because now that we're doing this work, there's so much of me, like mostly that does it. Like I do actually genuinely love strength training and being strong, and I love being active, and I love the beach, and I love food, and I know like when I actually eat enough and have a good breakfast and I have a better sleep,
Mm-hmm.
I just feel balanced and good. So it's, you know, doing it not again from the right place, but it's just hard to
Well, it's different. We
articulate. Mm,
transmute that. It starts from, your journey
mm,
starts from wanting to shift from a place of punishing, like I said, but then
mm,
it comes to like love, like you truly have changed a lot your identity.
mm,
This is who you are. And it's coming from this place of love and compassion. And you can hear the voices now, and their voices
mm,
are not your identity. And it's separating yourself from the voices that are going on in your head that are telling you those old thoughts or old behaviors, and you're able to see it differently, right? That we are building, I always give you the analogy when we're coaching, is like you're building the muscle, an
mm,
emotional muscle. So you are going this path and you're looking at your emotions and you're looking at your circumstances differently now. And
mm,
you feel the emotion come up, but it's not the same now
mm,
because you have tools and ways to soothe the emotion, the ways to allow it to work through you. So it's not getting stuck in your body and not causing disrupted sleep and constipation.
mm. Yeah,
Right.
it's really is so fascinating. And I think, you know, I said this to you a few days ago. I've been reluctant to share more because I feel like I'm not mastering it yet. But then I was like, for fuck's sake, Kitty, like, what what do you tell your clients? Like
Yeah.
consistent imperfect action. Are you taking consistent imperfect action? Yes. So you are
Absolutely.
doing it. So share. Like you're just a normal person. You're not going to get it right all the time. Like you say to me, because I have these where I, you know, message you sometimes crying, like
Mhm.
at times just because I feel overwhelmed and I'm like, oh, I'm just not doing it. Like how, and then I sort of let the emotion go through and then we have these conversations. I'm like, oh, okay, it's all right. Like you just, it's okay.
Your
Yeah. Yeah.
inner perfectionist,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Come and say, hey, I'm not going to be okay unless I get it done perfectly. And that'll cause some women to sabotage and not do it at all, right? Walk
Which,
away from it.
which is really interesting to me because I'm not like that in our business. Like in our
Mm-hmm.
business, I'm very much like, oh, fucking just try shit. And it like we'll just give it a go. Close enough is good enough. And
Yeah.
so it's interesting that I'm not like that in the business, but then in this personal relationship, you know, stuff, I'm much more. Why is that, do you think?
Well, we develop our confidences. You
Mm,
have evidence that you are successful. And it's just, what areas of your life are reflecting back to you, your next
mm,
level, you're always like, you can have it all and you want to have the best life possible. You want to win at life. And that's, like we were talking before the podcast, for me, it's a never-ending journey. It doesn't mean that life doesn't get better and it doesn't get easier, but always going to be finding an area where you can grow and expand from. So for whatever reason, I see a lot of women that are operating in their masculine. They don't doubt their ability to get shit done. They know, they have confidence, they have a track record of success. But then sometimes in the interpersonal relationships, that's where the people pleasing comes in, right? It's all about love and acceptance. And, you have this confidence in yourself in one area of your life, and you can see the track record and have success. And that's feeding back to your identity that you can do it. And, that even if you failed before in the past and you've overcome, you're building that identity that you are an achiever in that area. But when it comes to interpersonal relationships, that is all about vulnerability. That's all about, feeling like you're going to be accepted, safe, and loved. And that is at the core of who we are. We are relational beings. We come into this earth, we're birthed knowing that we need these interpersonal relationships to survive. And if we didn't have and guess what? All parents screw us up. That's what they're designed to do. So inner child healing and reparenting is part of the game. It doesn't mean that you had the worst parents, but we are, receiving those messages about ourselves and what we need to do to stay safe, loved, and accepted from a child. And then those just grow. So those are really the core of our existence. And they tend to be what I see as women come to me, and these interpersonal relationship triggers are what is always underneath. Like, am I going to be safe, loved, and accepted? And so it feels like life or death to some women. I work with women and like the people pleasing, and this isn't necessarily your situation, but I always give this, like, they cannot even make a meal for themselves because they're disappointing their children or their husband. Right? Like, it exists. And so therefore they never get started on implementing such wonderful, even you can eat all the food, but yet if it's different than what the husband doesn't want them to be, or, they are trying to bend themselves into pretzels to make sure they get that love and attention and acceptance. So I think that's why it's probably harder when there's another human being on the other end, whether that's a coworker, whether it's an employee, whether it's, some hired help that you have, whether it's a partner, whether it's a parent, a sibling, the stakes are higher.
I think too, like working with you's really helped me figure out what I want.
Oh yeah.
How I want to be and who I want to be, and, setting boundaries and just going but working on myself and taking ownership as well. Like, we talk about that a lot.
Ownership versus blame.
That's right. And also looking, because there's a lot of hard things that have happened, in the last 2 to 3 years, which I won't say all the details, but, just looking back and actually being grateful for those things, because it never would have pushed me to do this and work on myself and get really clear about what I want in my life, and address these, I don't know what you'd call it, issues, but.
Well, they're emotional issues, right?
Yeah.
Like, we all have them. We're emotional, energetic beings. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
everything working out for you. Like, so many of us, we're creating our lives by default.
Yeah.
Especially like the people pleasers. I spot it if you got it, is what I say. And I had it tremendously. And my journey was also waking up one day, realizing, is this really my life? And how did I get here? In a span of 45 days, I actually lost my job, and I found out my husband was cheating on me. And I found out I had a pituitary tumor within 45-day span. And I woke up and I said, did I create that? How did I get here? And when you start that, like earth-shattering emotional wake-up call, then you start to say, can I start creating by intention? And that's where you're using your emotions and your feedbacks as to, like, does this feel good to me? And then deciding, like you said, when you really decide, and how then everything for people pleasers is either you have said yes to it, like consciously, or you haven't said no to it.
Yes. And it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like maybe because sometimes I find it difficult to articulate what it is you actually do. And in my mind, I was thinking about it this morning because Greta and I have talked about like doing something together. Like we just feel so compelled because I just love being around you and working with you. And I find this work at times it's been very hard. Like, but now I'm coming out the other side. I'm like, this is so fucking good. Like I'm going to get everything that I want, because I feel like you can. So I think if you're a woman and you're sitting listening to this and you're either, I don't know, you might be dissatisfied with you, like one or all of the above,
right?
Like your body,
agree. Yeah.
Your relationship, your job, your
Yes.
life, like you said, you get to this point, you're like, how the fuck did this happen? Like, and it might be one of those things. It might be all of those things that I think when you do this work, you realize that you can have what you want.
Yeah.
But it like this has been hard, but so worth it. It is so worth it.
And it's something that nobody can take away from you. And you have this sense of self and this sense of grounding and this internal sense of
peace. It's like peace is what it is. Like I feel, like we've been on a bit of a roller coaster, and like today I feel so good. Like I can feel it. This is what it is. And just working through, like for me, the people pleasing, and when someone's not like I would allow other people to affect if I was happy or not. Cause like in Kitty's world, everyone has to be happy. And, if they're not, it has something to do with me.
Right.
And
that it was created for survival inside of you. And I had that too. And so many women have that. And then, so if you're not happy, then what can I do to make you happy? Or how are we going to make you happy? And then you're out here running like a hamster on trying to do and just expending your energy and not having anything for yourself, stressing yourself out. And then also you're looking at your life as like, I'm making all these people happy, but I'm not making myself happy. And what does that look like? Like you said, what does that look like in creating from a place of everything that you desire, everything that you want, intentionally creating and learning how to work through these emotions for you. So you create that sense of peace within yourself. It's not reliant upon a partner doing something, your children behaving a certain way, the job going a certain way. You have a place to come back to yourself time and time. And what did I always say? What do you want?
Yeah. But I also think too, like I've had some big realizations around like just business relationship. Like there's a way that like you said, I've been so masculine for so long. Like if I want to have the relationship, not that I don't have that, but I'm just trying to articulate it like that next level of like, this is, it's like you also taking ownership and going, well, I need to cultivate these other parts of myself to get what I want.
Yes.
Who is the woman that you need to be to get the life that you want? So there is the work that you have to do that's hard. That's like, because it's so like, I'm so used to like, okay, I just want something. I just do this.
Yeah.
Like surrendering for me is hard.
Yes.
Not taking action all the time is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, but learning.
Nervous system. Yeah. Regulating your nervous system in that space of uncertainty.
Yes.
Or not taking action. What does not taking action feel like sometimes for you? And again, like I'm saying, you're building that emotional muscle. You are sometimes not taking action and seeing the thoughts that come up. You're changing the stories that you tell. And it's all happening in your mind. Like you said, you can be dialing in all of the nutrition, the exercise, all of that. But there's that one thing that you can't measure. And that's the emotion side.
That's right. And that's what's so hard. But it's interesting though, like as I was messaging this morning, some things were coming up and the emotion came up and I felt like crying, but then it just like acknowledged it and I could understand why. And like it went through me. And usually like sometimes I would, me go into this spiral, like I think too much about it. I let it come up. Then my brain, and you're right, your brain is so powerful. Like it starts to tell you these fucking stories, but I'm getting better at going, it's just, this is why you felt that. And it's okay. And you're like nurturing the child going, you just were hurt. You were hurt. Acknowledge it. Like, it's okay. Yeah.
And getting out of your head and into your heart. Isn't that what I always say?
Yes.
Get out of your head and into your heart. And that process, how do I get out of my head and into my
Mm,
heart? How
mm,
do I, the emotions, what are temporary. They
mm,
just move through you. The sensations, they're sensations. They move through you. They have information to give you. And if you can be the perceiver of it, if you can learn that skill, and that's what you're developing. You develop skills for everything. You're a badass in the gym. You know how to use fat loss as a skill in your life, so you never have to worry about restrictive dieting. Now you're learning this emotional regulation as a skill.
mm.
Let's face it, you work with your partner, you have two very successful businesses, there's a lot that is required of you. So high expectations of yourself, and so you do want to experience the fullness of life. And so that's hard to be able to balance your partnership in the workforce, and then coming home and being the right balance of masculine and feminine, so everything can then really, really thrive. And you're
Mm,
out of survival mode in any of the areas of your life. So you're learning that emotional skill where it's inside of you. Nobody can take it away. You can always find your peace. When the emotion comes up, that you can handle this.
mm.
It's not telling the story. It's not running off and making you build
Sick
momentum,
and
right?
tired and not sleeping, and yeah, which was what would
Yeah.
happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
And
that's real power.
it's interesting. It's like, like I've always felt like I've had a good life. Like I've got everything I want, but then it's like this has sort of opened the door and made me go, interesting listening to this book, this guy, this feminine one, talking about his relationship with his wife and how it was happy, it was good, but you're like, there's just something more. There's something and you open this door. It's like the Matrix. You can't fucking go back. You're like, but it's good.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. Yeah, it's really hard to describe.
And women, when we get into our 40s of a certain age, we're longing for that deeper connection, right? What got us to this point is probably not going to get us through the next 40 years, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
what does the next 40 years look like for your life? And
Mm,
how do you want to move through that? And I
mm,
always have who am I becoming? Who's
yeah,
the woman I'm becoming?
yeah, yeah. I love it. It's so good. And so we've just run out of time. It's just 9 o'clock but this is perfect. We covered, I think, everything that I wanted to talk about. And Greta, you can find Greta on Instagram. I'll put her links below, but she is actually working on something new, aren't you?
Yes,
Yeah. Do
yes.
you want to talk quickly about that, or
Going to be helping all of you lovely ladies just master the art of balancing your inner masculine strengths with your radiant inner feminine energy? And how do you use that to heal your hearts from maybe past hurt, past wounds? And so you can have, like Kitty was saying, all aspects of your life, your body, your health, your man, all of those areas, your partnerships just feel so aligned to you. So and
Perfect.
anything that anybody wants us to, that they're struggling with and we want to help them out, I'd love to hear what they're interested in, what they want help with too,
Yeah, maybe message us on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we
Where do
keep
you want
thinking
to
about what can we do together. Something's going to happen next year. It's going to be
We're so
next year.
excited.
Yeah, we're getting closer. Well, thanks so much.
It'll be fun. We know
Yeah,
that. Whatever this
it's
is
going to
going
be
to be
fun. It's going to be fun. Well, thank you so much, Greta. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Kit. I love you so
And
much.
right back at you. And if, as always, guys, take a screenshot of the podcast, share it on Instagram stories. If you resonate with this, share it so other women can listen, because we feel like so many women would just feel like this, but they just, like me before, I didn't have the tools or the knowledge, I've invested in coaching in all other areas of my life, business coaching, training coaching, nutrition coaching, but never anything like this until this time. And it's just been so valuable. As I feel like the other stuff becomes so much easier when you nail this, because all that other stuff's just the doing. It's just, I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway. But yeah, tag me, share your biggest takeaways on Instagram stories, and tag me at KITTYBLOMFILD. And each month I pick a winner and they get a tub of Saturée Premium Collagen. Thanks so much, Greta.
Thanks, Kitty.